All right, South Korea. South Korea is a country in East Asia that occupies the southern portion of the Korean peninsula. The country is bordered by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, to the north and makes up about 45% of the peninsula's land area. South Korea faces North Korea across a demilitarized zone 2.5 miles wide that was established by the terms of the 1953 armistice that ended fighting in the Korean War. All Koreans speak the Korean language, which is often classified as one of the Atlantic languages, has affinities to Japanese, and contains many Chinese loanwords. There is no national religion in South Korea, and like the United States, freedom of religion is constitutionally guaranteed. Some may think that there is a uniform religion in South Korea, but this simply isn't the case. The principles and social outlook of Confucianism are still much in evidence in Korean daily life and family relationships. South Korea was once a poor agrarian society, but has since transformed itself by developing export-oriented industries and, along with government support, a highly skilled and educated labor force. Korea joined the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 1966 and took a step closer to becoming an economically advanced country. In the early 21st century, Korea's per capita gross national income far exceeded those of most of its neighbors, other than Japan and Taiwan. South Korea imports 97% of all their primary energy resources. As a result, they are one of the world's leading importers of energy resources like crude oil and natural gas. South Korea mainly depends on the Middle East for its oil and natural gas imports. The Middle East region accounted for more than 84% of South Korea's crude oil imports. In 2014, Saudi Arabia was South Korea's leading supplier of energy resources. They supplied more than one-third of South Korea's imports. Other importers were Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, and Russia. South Korea ranked ninth among the top energy-consuming countries in 2014, according to the BP Statistical Review of World Energy 2015. According to the Oil and Gas Journal, in January 2014, South Korea discovered domestic petroleum reserves as large as 203 billion cubic feet. This domestic gas production is negligible, accounting for less than 2% of total consumption. Although South Korea has very little domestic energy resources, it is home to some of the largest and most advanced oil refineries in the world. As a result of South Korea's highly sophisticated refineries, it is one of the leading refiners in Asia. They export to China, Singapore, Japan, and Indonesia. The Korean National Oil Company is the largest domestic oil company in South Korea. Korean National Oil Company and Korea Gas Corp spent the past decade trying to meet the energy self-sufficiency ratio targets set by the previous governments. But they have spent the last year trying to meet the new government's goal of cutting their debt-to-equity ratio by divesting assets they spent the last decade acquiring. The government unveiled a new energy development scheme to improve the financial status of state-owned companies and refrain from costly mergers and acquisitions. The drawback to this new policy is that KNOC and KOGAS are going to be forced to sell some of their overseas assets to reduce their debts, and it's also possible that the role of state developers can be undermined and compromise the country's energy security. When dealing with energy development, it's safe to say that it's a long-term project. With that being said, abrupt changes in an energy policy could seriously stall progress. If a project is set to unfold over 20 to 30 years but is constantly being changed, it will never get the chance to reach its potential. In 2011, KNOC bought Anadarko Petroleum Corp's interest in the Eagle Ford Shale, its first acquisition of unconventional oil and gas assets, and a 10% stake in U.S. oil and gas company Parallel Petroleum. Then in 2012, KNOC joined its first leveraged buyout of foreign assets for El Paso Corp's oil and natural gas assets. KOGAS also joined the race for asset acquisitions abroad. The gas utility in 2010 revised its Articles of Association to include crude oil development in its official business operations to enable it to acquire oil projects. This was a very aggressive investment that paid off in the end because South Carolina's self-sufficiency ratio increased. With the more efficient self-sufficient ratio, other issues could be addressed.